Welcome, Ryan Orrock, to interviews with integrated people.
That's saying a lot.
And I've been kind of like following you a little bit over the past few months, and I got really excited. There was somebody who does something similar to what I do, and it seems that you're doing it on a very professional level that I really appreciate. So you're really niching, really focusing on this idea of marketing for security professionals.
hmm
Yeah, is that the way to say it?
Yeah, it's part of it. I mean, I see that the whole world needs to wake up and have a shift around sexuality, intimacy, and relationships, starting with
Hmm.
sexuality. So I grew up in a very repressed sexual environment with a lot of guilt, shame, fear, etc. And I had to find a way out of that, and so I did. And one way was through neo tantra, and later more traditional tantra and sacred sexuality. And I came to the Bay Area 3 years ago. I did most of my training in Europe, and what I noticed
Hmm.
was there was a lot of fragmentation. It wasn't necessarily super professional, super big. There's probably more people doing tantra in the '70s, I imagine, than are doing it now in the Bay Area.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I just there were a lot of big names here, etc. So I thought, how do we make this more professional? And I've been on a journey. I've been studying coaching. I've been studying intentional community to find ways to make this bigger, to reach millions, tens of millions of people. Like yoga, tantra, sacred sexuality should be ubiquitous. It should be everywhere.
Yeah.
And so one way I do it is by exactly what you're talking about, coaching people who are working in this field and helping them up level things because they're selling themselves for pennies on the dollar, almost all of them.
Yeah.
And they're doing things they don't want to do. They're compromising themselves. There's legal issues, ethical issues, moral issues, and you don't need to do any of that. So this is what I've been figuring out.
Yeah. So why it's like you could have studied tantra and become a tantric teacher as the main thing or the only thing that you do, or become a body worker or become whatever. So why focus on the business side?
I've done all of those things. I was teaching tantra in Europe, doing workshops and courses. I had a temple in Vienna.
Wow.
Um, I also was doing body work with men and women. So I've done all of those things, and they're all great. But the universe hit me over the head and said, "Go back to America," which I never thought I would do. I thought I was
Hmm.
done with the States. I would live there for 15 years, so Europe was kind of my home. Um, and I also saw a couple things. One of the things I saw is that my teacher was really good. Actually, you know him, John Hawken, was my
Oh, Dark Eros.
yeah. That's one thing that he does. Yeah, but I worked with
Yeah.
John for 3.5 years. I took every course I could find that he was doing. I followed him around. He's a great Reichian psychotherapist. He's a shaman. He's a tantra teacher. He's a very, very amazing teacher. And I followed him around and absorbed and was sort of his protege for that time. And one thing I noticed though, what was people would come do his workshop, and it was 50 days, or it was 30 days of intense work, and they would come out of the workshop, but their lives weren't necessarily changed long term. At some
Hmm.
point they were still embarrassed to say, I do this thing called tantra. They had work, they had family, so the community didn't get established. So when he offered an advanced course, I just saw a few people come to the course, and I thought, oh my goodness, how are we going to build this community? He had a great business and he was doing that teaching, but it wasn't making a huge dent in the world, so to speak. So this
Hmm.
is one thing that I was frustrated about, and the second thing I was frustrated about is doing one-off sessions with people, and they'd have a lot of change and shift, but then they'd go back into their old lives again. You know, so I came to
Yes, as in no. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like and
yeah.
you're there, and you kind of like it's like yeah. If I could only see them for a few more sessions, I know that I can make that change last kind of thing. Yeah, it's like
That's
that's
right.
what you're experiencing as well. It's like oh, I can really help them.
Right. But it takes time. So So how do you do that? So those are the two problems I brought to America, and I think I found solutions that are helping on both fronts.
Hmm. So which kind of solutions
Well, what I
did you
found
find?
is long-term healing or coaching arrangements, or when someone comes to you, you don't just take the first symptom that they name and then say, oh, okay, let's go fix that symptom and goodbye. But where you really dig and you're really honest with them and you help them find out who they are really on a deep level, who they believe they are, who they can be, and take them through a longer process to accomplish all their dreams, all their goals, everything they can imagine being and accomplishing, right? And so coaching taught me about that. I studied coaching rather intensely with some great people, including Jason McLean, and that was really supportive of that. And for community, strangely, it was sort of the same thing. The more that I work long term with people, and I've been working with some people now for a year or a year and a half, a couple of my clients, and we're developing community because we have that continuity of connection and the money and the energy flow to make that happen. So working on creating that community now, but yeah, the first key was definitely working with people long term.
Hmm. So you basically have a first chat with them, and you would do something that they call don't give them what they want, give them what they need.
Yeah, well, people aren't honest when they first come to you, right? I mean, none of
Hmm.
us are. We're shy. We're afraid. We just mentioned the one thing. In reality, we want lots of levels of things, and so
Hmm.
I just keep
I think
digging.
that people don't know. Would you agree that sometimes people don't really know what they want? It's like they think that they want, it's like whatever, better orgasms or whatever, but actually, like the issue is totally different. It's like they think they want more money, but actually they want more fulfillment with what they're doing. It's not the money. It's not like counting the dollars or something.
That's right.
They,
Money is a means to an end, totally. And
yeah,
yeah,
and it's
go ahead.
yeah, I see it with many things. It's like, oh, I want a relationship, I want a relationship, I want a relationship, but no, you don't love yourself. That's why you need a relationship in order to feel that somebody's like acknowledging you. But it's like I get women coming and telling me, I want a relationship, I want a relationship, I want a relationship, and then I'm like, okay, don't see anyone for 3 months. And they're like, what are you telling me? I'm like, yeah, that's what you need to do in order to get a relationship. You need to get in touch with yourself.
Right.
So that's good stuff. It's like, and it's interesting that you're talking about the long term kind of like work with people. One of the things that I find with people that I work with, like coaches that I talk with and my clients as well, that sometimes they're like, it's like, oh yeah, like you empowered me so much. It's like I don't need you anymore.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I do see that. It's like they have amazing transformations in their lives. I do like a 5 session process with them over like 3 months or something.
Hmm.
And there's a website, there's a Facebook group, there's support via email. So there's a few interactions apart from the actual Skype sessions. And then like after 3 or 4 months, like more orgasmic, loving themselves more relaxed in what they do, relaxed with themselves, and happy with offering their gift, and sometimes doubling their rates, tripling their rates, having more clients, and then they're like, okay, we're good, we don't need you anymore. So the question is, and this question I've been asking myself, is that real, or is that because basically they say we empowered you, you empowered us, and thus we can go by ourselves. And I'm like, okay, I feel great with empowering them, but I also feel that it's not that they need me after those 3 months. I did empower them to get into a place that they can take care of themselves. But if they had my guidance, they would be in where they want to be, kind of like faster and easier.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
It's like, yeah, it's like, do you want to learn piano alone or do you want a piano teacher, And how long do you need a piano teacher? Pavarotti had a voice teacher. Michael Jordan had a basketball coach, and not just till he got good, but forever, right? So as long as they were doing it. So yeah, a coach is going to help you go faster, better, get your stuff, And for me, that sounds like, maybe somebody needs some rest. I've had that happen before. sometimes working with me, and I can imagine working with you, can be so intense that people might need a break.
Guilty as charged.
So you have to pace people sometimes, and give them some rest. But like I'm signing up people for a year at a time now. You can't work with me under a year for a coaching program, and this allows us time to, in a relaxed manner, get to where you want to go and cover bigger goals than you thought you were possible when you came in the door with me.
Hmm. So that's quite a big commitment, you know. It's like if I would meet a coach and like, oh wow, like commit for a year. What does that mean? They pay the year in advance, or they what does commitment mean?
I haven't
When
had
you
anyone
say that.
pay the year in advance, but I want them to say, yes, I'm going to be on this journey with you for a year. I'm going to do this. And I must say that there's not a lot of the people that I talk to are ready for that. That's a small percentage of, that's probably 10% of people that I talk to that are ready for that. And I'm just filling that program up right now, and then it'll be full. But it was just sort of my heart, my vision, and I know what I can give, like you. So I'm going to say we're going to do a long journey together.
Hmm. And then what does that entail? Like they get involved with you for a year, they commit to a year, and then you see them a few times a month or once a month, or how is that?
I have tons of contact. I recently posted an article on my website. It's called "Using the Golden Rule in Your Business." And so basically, I asked, what would I want if I were the coachee? And I have my own coaches as well. I think that's important that every coach does. Um, and the thing that I want is to be able to contact people whenever I have a question, whenever I need something. So I've got like a little walkie-talkie system on my cell phone, and I get messages that way. We do
Like WhatsApp or something?
yeah, exactly. Well, I use Telegram usually. It's encrypted and things. So, but yeah, I
Hmm.
guess it's like WhatsApp. I've never used that. But anyway, yeah. So that and so we've got I've got access pretty much all the time for this intense coaching system,
Hmm.
And
Weekends?
yeah, go ahead.
Weekends?
Weekends,
Weekends?
it depends, and it also depends during the day. Of course, if I have sessions, I'm unavailable, right? But um, that's how I do it. But like weekends to me, like I was it your site where I read the article, why do I work on weekends?
Yes.
Yeah, I read that article. I'm like, yeah, weekends are just another day. I do try and plan some time every week to be downtime, or I definitely do that. But and it sort of happens naturally as well. I can saturate people's bandwidth also pretty quickly. So it's not like they need me hours and hours, because I'd say go do this, go do that, and then they have something to do. But yeah, normally it's 4 times a week or 4 times a month we meet, or every week. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't change the price if it's 5 weeks in that month. And then almost unlimited support. So I'm really really holding them by the hand and guiding them in a lot of ways.
Wow, that's quite intense. So it's like they actually see you, what is it, in person or over Skype every week.
Right.
Okay, so do you feel that they actually need that level of continuous kind of like holding them by the hand? Is that I believe that's quite exceptional for a coach, at least what I've experienced, to be actually meeting every week. So do you want
Um,
to share more about that?
I have, depends on who I'm working with. Some people I have done twice a month and longer sessions. I do customize it a little bit.
Hmm.
That said, the people that I tend to work with are very fast learners and implementers. Like this
Hmm.
this group that I'm talking about, this long-term group, I just launched it a month ago officially. I mean, I've been doing it with other people, kind of. It's been happening, and I launched it. I filled up 3 spots, but there's only 6, so I'm only working with 6 people with this intensity. And
Hmm.
yeah, they work really fast. They implement things quickly. And if we don't need to do a week, great. We don't need to do a week. I'm not really worried about it. But we're in contact, and I know how they're doing.
So you meet them kind of like one on one every week. So it's not like a group call every week. Or.
Yeah, I haven't done the group thing. I mean, I've done webinars and things, but I haven't gotten a group coaching really off the ground yet. It's a thought, something to
Hmm.
do, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah, me too. And basically because I don't want to commit to a certain evening of the week that I always have to be like I'm like no, I'm much more fluid than that. So it's interesting. You're saying a lot of things, and I'm taking a few notes, and it's beautiful that it's bringing up so many things to talk about. And one of the first one that I wanted to ask you was about this word that we're using, which is coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the things that I've had some discussions with my friends and coaches is that I'm not actually doing coaching, and I believe that maybe you're not actually doing coaching because the way I see it and the way that I studied it, I studied just a little bit of coaching, is that a coach just take whatever the client tells him and works with that. And one of the things that one of my best friends and coaches, Grant, is telling me, it's like, no, we're mentoring them.
Right.
We're using our information, our knowledge, our experience, our perceptions, even if you want to talk about spiritual coaching as well, and guiding them through that. Yeah, do you wanna relate to that? Is that
Yeah,
something that you do as well?
yeah, you're right. We're using one word because it's easy, but actually, I do a few things. I do coaching, teaching, training, mentoring, healing, professional supervision, counseling. Yeah, all of these things are slightly different, and I do pretty much all of them at various times with various people. But yeah, maybe mentoring is a better word, but it's always a question of what
I
the
like
word.
mentoring.
Yeah,
It sounds very it's like somebody would say, I have a coach. It's like, oh, you have a coach. And somebody else would say, I have a mentor.
yeah,
So for me, a mentor feels that, and no offense, and it's like many people do coaching programs, and
yeah.
maybe they are okay coaches. But a mentor that has coaching abilities, I feel, I believe, would be much more, which have much better results than a coach, which is only a coach and doesn't know the subject matter of his clients. Like, if you help sexuality professionals, is it true that you're able to help them much better because you are from the field? You've done that, so you
Um,
can mentor them.
Yeah, I was talking to a mediator today who was a lawyer. And is she a better mediator because she's a lawyer? Probably. You know, she knows more about the field. She helps people with divorces and she knows the legal stuff. I think it's the same thing. So yeah, I think that's a great point you're making.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm actually like playing with ideas to change, stuff on my website and change like how I present myself and so on, because I also have this idea that um, and that relates back to marketing, which is whatever you study, don't necessarily use that as your title.
Right.
So it's like if you study Reiki and you put something on the yellow pages that you're doing Reiki, you're one of like millions who are doing Reiki.
Right.
If you're doing alpha, beta, gamma, theta healing, that's like, okay, that sounds a little bit, woo woo, but at least people go like, oh, what's alpha, beta, gamma, theta healing? Okay, what's whatever, it's like you get my drift. So I'm like, okay, let's use other words which only we use, and maybe make it clear enough for people to understand that, yeah, we offer some kind of coaching, mentoring, counseling, and so on, but differentiate ourselves by saying, no, we're not coaches. We're not pure coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
My teacher, my coach, except for he's not a coach because he does exactly what you said. He calls himself an evolutionary guide, right? And yeah, so he wants something that people say, "What's that?" And I've gone back and forth, transformational, tantric, catalyst, blah blah. I've tried all sorts of titles. The thing that I do at the moment is I just talk about results. You want to earn $1,000 an hour, you want to earn $100,000 a year, come and work with me, and who cares what I'm called? So that's what I'm concentrating most on now is the results.
Hmm. And how do people come to you?
Oh, well, you know what I've done? I've done a bunch of educational webinars where I talk about the issues that people have and I talk about the solutions that I found. And what I'm doing more and more in each of these webinars is just coaching people right in the webinar. They're bringing me their problems, and I'm just solving them there on the spot, and just disseminating these in my community. And that's how I found a lot of people to work with me.
So that you're doing like a free webinar and you're announcing it on Facebook and through the mailing list and so on, and then people watch the webinar, you help them live, and then they sign up?
Yeah, well, and then they come and talk to me again. To work with me, you're going to talk to me at least once, maybe twice, and I do very expansive talks with people when they're with me if I think we might be a fit. So yeah, they're going to talk to me a couple times for free, and then either we move forward together, or I solve their problem that they have now, or I send them to someone who can.
Mm-hmm. So basically, it's like I'm asking about funnels, and I'm asking that because that's the $1 million question always with people who offer this different kind of services. It's like, okay, I'm good, I'm amazing. Whoever I helped, like they got great results. It's like I got a few of my clients that they're amazing in what they're doing, but then they ask me like, okay, how do I get clients? And I tell them the same things, write articles and submit it to magazines and open a Facebook page and help offer free sessions to everyone just to get started. So, what's your take on that? How does somebody get started?
The number one thing that I'm going to say for almost everybody is to speak, because whenever you get in front of a group and speak, whether it's virtual or whether it's real or whether it's live one-on-one or not one-on-one but live, is people are always impressed by speakers. You always hear that they'd rather die than speak. Most of Americans, yeah. Right?
Fear of sharks is bigger than fear of public speaking.
There you go. Okay, right. Okay, good. So anyway, so if they see you speaking, we just sort of believe the person who's speaking and presenting. They get instant credibility no matter what. And also you have a one-to-many reach, and you develop intimacy. For our type of business, you need a relationship. You need intimacy to be able to work together. So I found that to be the fastest way. I have other ideas for depending on what the person is doing and who they are, but for me, that's been the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't worry about Facebook. I barely worry about a web page. I write articles, but not really as marketing tools. I think all that comes later. I think you need to get in front of people, be seen. It's how Jesus did it. It's how Buddha did it. It's how Osho did it.
It's good. It's good we're comparing to some cool people.
So I can do that too.
I don't have a Messiah complex. No, famous coaches. Zig Ziglar, Jesus, Ryan Orrock. Keeping good company there. So would that be? It's like you hire a room and you organize some kind of talk and you announce it in your local community, or is that more like online? How would you do that?
You can do both depending on who you're looking for and whether you want to work locally with people. Until recently, I didn't have any local clients. My clients were all over the world, but none of them were local, and that was fine. However, I do have, and you can benefit if we are physically present. There are things I can teach, show, demonstrate, and I just recently had someone sign up who actually is here in the Bay Area. And it's a different quality. So I may start doing, and by the way, my marketing has been pretty much online mostly. Since I got to the Bay, I did it live in Vienna. But I may start doing more local things just to get a few more people who I can actually have sort of in a local tribe instead of just an international tribe.
Yeah, and I'm totally there with you, and I've done both, and I find that I enjoy working with people from all over the world. Like I have one client in Hawaii. Cool. It's like it's closer to you, and obviously Europe and so on. So it's like, so that's great, but also there's a beauty to actually being able to see a client face to face, or see groups of clients face to face, and I find also the nature of interactions are different. like Skype works beautifully. I get both into, profound moments with clients, spiritual moments with clients, sexual moments with clients, emotional, loving, everything through Skype. And then face to face sometimes has an extra layer that obviously Skype doesn't have.
Right.
I'm taking a few kind of like notes when as you speak, and then you're saying like marketing online. So you are, one of your titles is what was it? Marketing for sexuality professionals, which is what it got my kind of like interest of like, oh, this is a guy who's actually doing something that I've been speaking about for years, because I was speaking about something a little bit wider, which is I was living in spiritual communities, yogic communities, alternative communities, and I spent 7 years on a tropical island in Thailand and was in a yoga school there. And in Melbourne, the alternative communities is amazing. It's like really talented people. And one of the things that I noticed with many of those talented people is that they are talented and they are not really expressing it. So they have great gifts, and you talk with them, or you talk with somebody who had a session with them, but then you talk with them, it's like, no, I hardly do sessions because I have to work half time in the local pizzeria or something. And for years I was like, how do we get these damn hippies to and I say it with a lot of love because I'm also a hippie.
Of course,
and I
right.
have hippie friends and I go to hippie festivals and so on. But how do we get those amazing hippies to share their gifts and to help other people? How do we get them to actually reach other people and make a living for that, so they don't have to work in the pizzeria and they can, do what they love, help other people and get paid, which is one of my slogans, So how do we do that?
Well, one key thing is just having them recognize their value, first of all. There's a lot. I mean, there was a healer that I've started working with. She's become my main healer, working with me. And when I met her, she was either giving away free sessions or she was doing it for $20 to $60 sliding scale. And now I've convinced her to go $150 an hour. She's thinking about $250 per session now. She just didn't realize her value. She didn't realize that she was a world-class healer, that she could be doing this full time. She quit her job, and now she's earning a full-time living on this, but she didn't know, she didn't have the mind shift. The problem is when you're good at something, sometimes you don't notice it because it's easy for you. So you think everybody can kind of do it. People in high school, my teachers told me, you're a good writer. But I didn't realize what they meant until I got a job as a writer, and then I was making money. Oh my God, now I see that this is really a talent I have. And this is the same thing. There has to be a mind shift that we help people see that, first of all, your time is incredibly valuable when you're on point. I just wrote an article about this, why you're worth $1,000 an hour. And the reason is most of us are in jobs where we're using like 5% of who we are. And when you move to a place where you're using 100% of who you are, you just got 20 times more valuable. Because that's the one thing that you can do for people that nobody else can do that's in your tribe. So yeah, $250, $500, $1,000, it's all doable as soon as you realize that. And once you start asking for that, people start saying yes. And you don't and you need you need half as many people to pay double the prices and half as many people pay double the prices again. So it's not like you have to find 100 people to pay you $10,000. No. You have to find a few, and then you've got a business of it. So that's what I do. I convince them of their value. I say, look, this is you. You're magical. This is what you should be charging, and that's a big step.
Okay, that's totally preaching to my choir, because this is like I'm listening to it like yeah, that's exactly the work that I've been doing with people, and the question is, and how do you get them to realize their value? Because some people they tell me, yeah, everybody tell me that I'm this and I'm that, but I don't believe it. I don't think that people would pay, let's say, $200 for my services. I believe that and that person are much better than me and they are charging much less. There's a lot of I want to be affordable I want to be accessible to everyone, So how would you kind of like answer those sentences.
Well, let's handle the accessible part first. The first thing is
Yeah.
like, well, somebody told me recently, I want to be able to work with students and vets and people who have no money and homeless people and single mothers. I mean, not homeless, but single mothers. All this. How do I do this? Well, I said, you know what you're saying is, I'm the only person in the world who can help these people. If you think you want to be accessible and have your prices really low, do you think you're really
Yeah.
helping them while you're starving to death or working half time in the pizzeria? No. And would you like to give away lots of free information and content and value and cheaper courses? Then have a few people pay you what you're worth, which is a lot. And then you can train other people to go solve these problems, because you're not going to be able to do it alone and you're not doing it now. So that's the accessibility issue that I find holds a lot of people back, which is really a self-worth issue. I think usually that's an excuse for self-worth. The second thing is,
Right on.
unfortunately, you can't convince anybody or everybody that they are worth that. If they're not going, if they're not listening, they're not listening. So I cycle through very quickly. There were 5 people in my community that I said, I'd love to work with them, with her, with him. They're so talented. They're so amazing. And I tried, and let me give you this, let me give you this. And I've stopped doing that. Now I present my material, I offer to speak with me, and the people who come to me are ready to listen to these ideas. And those other people, yes, they're talented, they're amazing, and when they're ready, I hope they'll show up. But I have no magic way to prove to them that they are worth that, besides showing them, okay, look at her, she did this, now she's here. Look at me, look at you, Eyal,
Yeah, and that's beautiful, and that's one of the things that I love when I work with a client and they get to this point where before it's like, oh no, I cannot charge more than, I had this client that was charging like 40 or 50 euros in Europe after doing work for like 30 years and being like totally booked out and so on, and she was still charging that and then I got her to understand what she's doing and how much value that she's giving to her clients and how much transformations they're getting. I have this part of my process which goes like, I want you to theorize and guess and come up with every possible benefit, indirect benefit that they got from you. Not that what they tell you, what you think they got from you. Right. So beginning you're like, no, they only got this, but like, no, actually this got better, maybe this got better, and so on. And then I'm like, oh wow, I am worth that. And then I'm like, what makes me tick, what makes me excited is when people recognize their potential, and moreover when people express their potential. Like recognizing is good, but Tony Robbins, action, always take action and so on. When people actually do that, and this client specifically was telling me, it's like, I just did my first 200 euro session. 200 euros is about 280 US, okay? And she was like, it was amazing. And I could really feel how, because charging more, I was bringing them more value. And I was like, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. And it's one of the notes I have it here is the issue of wealth. And I personally, it's like, I've been shifting through, or let's say my attitude toward wealth have been shifting throughout my life. Okay, so I was corporate, I was working in big businesses and being paid a lot, and then I went to the hippie, alternative, yogi, spiritual side, and like money is bad and conspiracy theories and this and that.
Right.
And then I'm still working on that. I'm still working on myself on changing some of those beliefs, because they're always hiding somewhere. So it's like, okay, I'm worth $500 a session, but then like, no, I'm not worth $1,000 a session. No, that's wrong. That's too much. I cannot give that much value. So one of the things that I'm working on, and you might relate to that as well, is changing people's wealth mindset. Changing what they believe about money, what they believe about charging, what they believe about selling, what they believe about marketing. Like this woman says, I want to just be available to people, but they have to find me. I'm like, you kidding me? It's like I tell her, you're an amazing healer, and you're doing people wrong if you're not putting yourself out there.
That's right.
So if you just want to relate to this idea of, wealth consciousness, and how much you're charging, and how strongly you're putting yourself out there, and money and rates and all of this stuff. If you just want to.
Well, okay, I have a couple things to say about this. Number one, so if you buy a Bugatti or a Ferrari for $200,000, does that car get you from point A to point B 10 times better than a $20,000 car? Not really, right? It costs 10 times as much. It's a little bit better, yeah. Maybe it's faster sometimes, but it's not really 10 times better, you know.
Yeah.
You're not going 2,000 miles or 6,000 miles an hour instead of 60 miles an hour, you know. And it's the same thing with healing. And these prices are incredibly elastic, for one thing. They don't really, in the real world, they don't mean anything. There's plenty of people who charge really high prices who aren't that good. There's plenty of, and like you said, there's the other way around, even worse. The first thing I do when somebody comes into me, like in the demo session usually, is I tell them instantly, double your prices. Since I started coaching, I've doubled my prices 4 times in a little over a year. And and every time I do, it makes me up my game. I get all these feelings, like you said. I get all scared and nervous, and what happens when I'm going to ask people for more money? But it makes me better. It makes me more present. I think about what would I really want to give? How would I really want to give it? It limits the scope of the people that I'm working with. I've fired my entire client load several times now. I've gotten rid of everybody and said, okay, we're going to a new level. If you want to play at this new level, it's going to cost more money, and it's got me better clients who I'm helping more deeply, who I'm serving more. So I love throwing that initial challenge out, double your prices when someone walks in the door with me, and seeing what happens. Like if they can handle that, I have people swallow and say, okay, I will, then I know we're probably going to be able to work together. And if they're like, no, 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 then I'm like, here, go work with this other person on your beliefs for a while, and then come back.
Send them to me. I will change the wealth.
Okay, I'll send them to you. You can do sentence stems. You can do all these belief changing exercises, and that's okay. It's not my favorite thing to do. I just like to throw people in the cold water and let them swim. But yeah, I will definitely send them to you because some people are not ready for that step yet.
And what you're saying, it's like I've been exploring it with people as well, and I've been also following other professionals who immediately say double your rates. And one of the things that I find is actually some people double their rates, but they don't have the underlying mindset. So I work a lot, also, and by the way, my sexual work and business coaching and spiritual coaching, I work a lot with mindset shifts. So the idea, if somebody's mindset is not in the right place, they cannot orgasm. It's not that they can't orgasm because they have a problem in their body. They can't orgasm because the mind is telling them that they can't.
That's right.
And some people double their rates, and I've seen people do it without the underlying beliefs, and it backfires. It doesn't work. It's like people don't pay them their rates. They lose clients and then don't gain new ones because underneath they're still saying, I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough, I'm not really helping my clients, people would hate me, or people are hating me because I have raised my clients. And for example, that Jane woman hated me because she cannot afford me anymore, and she says that I'm, what's the word? I always forget this word in English. Somebody who's like expensive, okay? It's like let's use the word expensive instead of okay. So how would you relate to that? To the idea that sometimes doubling prices doesn't work because of mindset?
If you double prices, you'll bring up all the mindsets. You shouldn't just double your prices without a coach. You shouldn't just double your prices and try to make it work.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're going to double your prices, if you're going to do anything in business, get support, get help, get someone to help you take those steps. Because yeah, it's difficult to do it alone. Although I've seen people just do it. It's okay. But yeah, if you're not sure whether you have money issues, double your prices and you will find out quickly what your beliefs are.
Yeah, the question is, I'm really there with you with the idea of having a coach, because I was helping this woman, and she was like, we kept going back and forth. She was like, okay, I'll raise it, I wouldn't raise it, I will raise it, I wouldn't raise it, and we had 2 full sessions with a little bit of email support in between, just because she was freaking out over the idea of doubling her rates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, by the way, I'm using the word rates and not prices, because prices is something that you put on milk.
Okay,
And
right.
rates is, I'm
Thank
not an
you.
NLP master or anything, but for me the words create the reality. So rates is something to do with a service. So she was freaking out, and I kept holding her hand and kept reminding her that you remember, it's like you are fully booked, but you don't have any savings, and you don't like some of your clients anyway, and you want to do other stuff. So it's I kept coaching her, and this idea of like, double your rates and your money beliefs would come out. The question is, if you don't need to do a lot of clearing before, clearing limiting beliefs and doing also some exercises in order to shift that.
Yes, most people are going to need a lot of support and prep for that. I mean, do you do like the sentence stems money is, and you start writing, you're like, money is evil, money is wrong, money is bad, money is something I need. You do that and then you start
Yeah.
working through those.
Yeah, and also personifying. So rich people are.
Oh, that too,
Okay.
right.
Okay,
Right.
because rich people are, because then it's like, no, I know these rich people. And it's like there was a sentence I heard from my mom, it's like, oh, they have money, but they are really cold, they're emotionally cold.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're not poor, but it's like, I have some of these sentences. It's like, rich people only want this. It's like, no, they don't.
Right.
And personally, I've been doing programs, Eben Pagan's self-made wealth or something like that, and books and so on, and working with coaches for I think now it's like a year and a half or something like that, and it keeps progressing and keeps getting better. And this is what I'm sharing with my clients. But what I find is that whatever level that you go to, like you just said, double your rates, and you would find like it's like there's new sets of beliefs.
Right. Yeah.
One of my coach friends, and it's funny that I have so many friends who are coaches. Some of them were my coaches and they became my friends. Some of them were my clients and became my friends. So he calls it the money shoes. Money shoes, which is like, you're okay with money shoes at let's say $500 an hour. The moment that you double your rates to $1,000 an hour, suddenly you were in bigger shoes. It's like, kids who wear their parents' shoes.
Right.
And they go like, and you're a little bit floppy, It's like, until you actually grow to that resonance, grow to that level, grow to that rate, you're a little bit in the beginning like, oh my God, it feels a bit wobbly.
Right.
So one of the things that I'm interested in is how to make that shift smooth and how to make it work. So it's not like some of those people like that I mentioned that, and I've seen that. It's like, charge a lot and nobody's coming, nobody's knocking. So yeah, I really feel that working on the limiting beliefs and identifying all of the voices in their head. One of the favorite ones is people would hate me and they think that I'm a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I would lose my friends.
Right.
I would lose. This one woman had her professional circle, like the association that she was part of, basically told her, no, you cannot do this. You cannot charge that much. So I told them, okay, leave the association.
Yeah, exactly. They're holding you back.
Yeah, like the crabs in the basket idea.
The bucket, right? Yeah, exactly.
Crabs in the bucket, It's like, yeah, and that brings me to something else, which is the idea of premium rates and premium clients and premium everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that you mentioned earlier. It's like, yeah, have a few clients which are paying you $10,000, and then you can do all of those other things. So you can help people for free, or you can train other people that would help all of the homeless and people on social welfare or whatever. So what's your kind of like take and approach on really premium rates and really premium clients?
The funny thing is there's people who are willing to pay whatever if you're good at what you are, and one thing I found out we had a webinar last week, and we had people who were working with intimacy and sexuality, and some of them at kind of a base level, like, look at my body, this is why you should hire me. And we changed that, you know what I'm saying? we helped them shift that to see, oh, well, I'm really good at creating creativity and fostering creativity. I'm really good at providing a loving feeling of, being taken care of and giving this mother energy, right? Everyone has something different that is their superpower. One of mine is clarity. I see your position, I can describe what's going on. That's one of my superpowers. So I have people not market, the things that everybody else has. Like you said, if you're a Reiki practitioner, so what? There's 1,000 Reiki practitioners. But my particular combination fits for very specific people in very specific ways. And I market to them. And I can choose whatever price I want. There's coaches who charge $150,000 a year, There's Tony Robbins charges over $1 million a year, right? And then $5 million. Thank you. I didn't know that, but yeah, okay, great. Six figures, 5 million. So anyway, when people come into your space, if you want to go lower, great. You can offer a discount from that. But why should you stop people who have the money and want to pay you from paying the full price to get the service that, everybody's happy. They're going to be happy. You're going to be happy. You're not going to be worrying about money. You're going to be totally focused on them and working on them. Everyone wins when you just allow that energy exchange to happen.
How do you find the people that can pay you those rates?
Number one, you have to go through a lot of people. I used to be able, at my old rates, I used to convert 80% of people to clients. At my new rates, I'm converting about 10% of people to clients, which is good because I'm getting closer to my optimal clients. And I also, I'm giving away.
Basically, you're doing free sessions, and as you mentioned earlier, you're doing sometimes 2 free sessions for some clients.
Yeah.
And so out of that, you're closing 10%.
Yeah, and about 10% of, and you know what? Nowadays, I feel it. If somebody comes into my space and I know they're one of these clients, I mean, for me it was really a spiritual experience. For me, it was like the universe telling me, you want 6 of these clients, and these are who they are, and this is their profile. And for me, it was like obvious that this was a spiritual mandate for me. So when these people show up, I felt something really weird lately. I feel this settling in my body. I feel this connection. I know who they are. And it's really, and I'm like, okay, you told me to get this price with these clients. So here they are. So here I'm going to say it. And here we go. And then we work to figure out, the money to solve it together. It's a collaboration though, because we know we want to work together. It's not me selling them something.
Let me clarify kind of the question and say, like, I get you with working with many people.
Right.
And you said earlier about, how you're getting your leads through online marketing, and I'm guessing you're doing like Facebook ads and Google ads and stuff like this.
I'm not paying any money for advertising. I'm just posting in a few groups and things.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. Because how do you target who's us through advertising? I don't know how to do it. And I've wasted a lot of money on advertising. I'm just posting webinars and groups and stuff. I'm having friends pass them on. I'm doing JVs with people who are big in the community and then gathering their names that way.
Okay, so that's already a few funnels or a few channels that you're getting clients. So that's Facebook groups, and that's joint ventures, and that's the webinar is basically as attracting people to listen and to see what they can get from you, and then you're like, this guy is cool, I want to work with him.
Right.
So it's quite interesting that you're not doing paid advertising, because when you kept saying marketing and online marketing and so on, I was like, okay, like budgets for Facebook ads and building campaigns and Googles and whatever. So that's quite amazing, because one of the things that I've experienced for myself, and I've seen it with clients, is sometimes it's difficult to break out of a social circle.
Right.
Like when I was creating, I helped set up a tantra school in Australia, and it was a problem to go outside of the hippie market, outside of the hippie community. It's like we wanted to raise our rates, and then it's like, how do we do it? Those people, some of them, like literally cannot afford it. Okay, it's like I really like believe it. Okay, it's like, or if they afford it, they have to, I don't know, do something crazy. So the question is, how do you break out of whatever community that you're in, even with the Facebook groups? Because some Facebook groups are like geared around certain communities, around certain kind of profile, socioeconomic profile of people.
Right.
So how do you break through that?
So nobody should do what I'm doing. What I'm doing is harder. It's much easier to do it because I am finding in my community, preaching to the choir, and finding clients to pay a lot of money. I think you have to be you have to know your game at that point to make it work. And it's taken me a lot of work and a lot of time to do that. Yes, and most of us who are in this game are preaching to the choir, and it's not, and we're selling the same thing to each other back and forth, and it's ridiculous. No, you need, I'm really close to Silicon Valley, right? So I'm gonna say, if you're working with me, you go to that event where you're the black sheep in the room, where you're different. You don't go to a healers conference where everybody's a healer if you want clients for healing. You go to the IT conference where nobody's ever heard of healing before, and it's like shooting fish in a barrel, There, everybody's curious about you. There, you're different. There, you're weird,
You come with your white clothes and Rastafari and dreadlocks and okay, wow, that's I'm totally there with you, mate. It's like one of my significant ex said, kind of like, she was like, all of us, like, service providers are just posting in those Facebook groups, trying to get each other as clients. We need to break out of that.
That's right.
It's like, I remember that we first had in one workshop, we had a dentist, we had the systems engineer, we had like people with like regular people with regular jobs. Because one of the things that I really believe for years is that we need to get our gifts, and for example, the niche that, sexuality professionals, we need to get it out into the world. And this is why I love what you're doing so much, because, it's like the hippies are probably a little bit more orgasmic than the corporates.
Right.
Okay, they're a little bit more connected to their body, they're good, they're dancing, they're going to nature, it's like, it's like, even if they're smoking weed, and I'm not pro weed, but it's like, when I was smoking weed many years ago, it really connected me to my body. I was like, my whole body was like vibrating, So it's like, I'm so excited about people like you who are helping professionals market their beautiful gifts and offering them to the bigger public outside of the alternative healers, sexuality, tantra, conscious groups and communities.
We have to do this to grow it, to survive. There's all sorts of reasons. But it's time to take our wisdom from up on the mountain, and instead of shouting from the top of the mountain, hey, come up here, here's the wisdom, that we go down and grab people's hands and help them up,
I'm on the mountains. I'm on the top of the mountain. I don't understand why I don't have disciples.
Exactly, yeah.
Come to the Sea of Galilee and do some tricks.
It's so ironic, all of these references with you, but anyway.
It's okay. We can roll on that. It's like that's a good thing. So I want to just focus on something that initially was the thing, which is it true that sexuality, marketing for sexuality professionals, is it one of your main things, or is it just one of kind of like the things that you are putting out there to attract certain kinds of clients? So is that your main clients are that, or is that just part of them?
At this point, I have a bunch of projects that I'm developing. I've got a relationships course. I've got a lot of ways to fulfill that mission of reaching these millions of people. And you and I both put up on, 1 million people in 4 years now. So we
Oh my
both.
God, you read that?
Yes, I read that, baby. Woohoo! Give me five. All right.
Oh wow, that was when I was in Sweden, and yeah, wow, that was a very intense time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wrote the same thing, for whatever reason. So I've got all of these ideas that I'm working on that are kind of bigger. I mean, an anorgasmia program for just the normal human beings and non-hippies, and a vaginismus, and all of these things. So we've got that in the works. I've got perfect relating is my relationship system that I teach people and I work with. But some of my most intense coaching is really with the sexuality professionals. Yes, to answer your question.
So tell me more about that, because that's some of my clients are doing this work. And as you mentioned, there's safety issues, legal issues, ethical issues, energy issues. Oh, I'm getting all this energy from clients or whatever. And so, if you just want to share a few ideas about that, like what you do with sexuality professionals.
Yeah, first convince them of their own worth or help them open up to their own value, find their gifts, their magic, find out who they're truly meant to serve. If you do those three things, almost everything else will solve itself. You know your value, you know who you're meant to serve, and you know who you are and what you bring to those people. Then it's
Mhm.
just a question of getting in front of that group, finding out where they are. Like you said, are they on meetups? Are they at tech conferences? Are they in swanky hotels? Where are these people? Like ballroom,
Mhm.
how do we meet these people? Uh, Professional meetings or whatever. And then getting that message in front of them, and then talking to them. If you do those things, then we start working on everything else. Relationships are well, I'm really excited about teaching and working with people holistically, because you can't touch one point of people's lives without touching everything. So once we start money going, your relationships. How many dakas, dakinis? I can't have a boyfriend. I can't have a girlfriend because of my work, and so that comes up. We work with that. We do health issues. We look at how is your body doing? How are you taking care of yourself? And managing money is huge. Does it just all fly through your fingers and out the window as soon as you can? A lot of dakinis, they earn a lot of money and then it's gone. It's shopping, it's whatever. So helping them learn that, um, integrating into a sort of community, getting regular healing. I mean, it's very very holistic what I do, and I there's almost not a place of life that I don't touch. If you come and work with me as a coaching client, we're dealing with everything. We're just starting where you said we were going to start, and then you realize as soon as you solve one problem, you create new problems. So then we start solving those problems.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. And I totally recognize it both for myself
Hmm.
and also for the people that I work with. And that's this. It's like it's a very special line of work. And because it's a very special line of work, it's like people encounter stuff that accountants don't
Right,
encounter.
right.
So it's like it's and also because there's always the legal issue, and that's a little bit of a sour point or a sad point. I think especially in the US, like you guys are regulated so much. It's like I don't know. I think it's not even legal to do genital touch in most of the US, apart from California or something, which is where you're at.
Well, can I talk about that briefly?
Yeah,
Um,
please. That's what I'm
Okay,
bringing.
because I was in Germany, and in Germany, you walk down the street and there's a McDonald's, and then there's a tantra studio, and then there's an accountant. It's just normal. It's just tantra and sexual. It's just no big deal. And here in America, it's totally different. The journey that I started when I was here is how to get the same results as I would get on the table with people without going on the table. So I started using hypnosis and trance and guided journeys and energy work, and I am happy to say that just about any result that you want to get that you thought you could only do on the table, you can do without touching. You can do it legally. And so I also train people, and I'm coming out with more and more courses about that, so stay tuned, about how to do that, how to move from having to work on the table, having to work genitally, to just talking, to energy, And my favorite, well, I shouldn't say favorite, but my longest term client now, when I'm working with her, she, I mean, people have orgasms with her, and she's 2,000 miles away, and they're on the telephone, and she's not saying anything sexy. She's just energetically doing that with them. So you don't need to do that stuff. And if you want to, if you can, there's all sorts of, if you absolutely need to, if you want to do that, there's ways to do it that are much, much safer, much better, more healthy for you, your boundaries, your emotions, than just doing it,
Mm-hmm.
without much
Mm-hmm.
consciousness. So
Mm-hmm.
I teach all of that stuff and encourage that as well.
That's don't know how much time we have, but this is like a whole huge, beautiful topic
Yeah, it is.
that and something that I've explored myself, tried myself, discussed a lot with people, and kind of like my um, my birth and my journey was from the table. It was actually on the floor at the time. I was against tables a few years ago.
Okay.
It's like, no, it's not like somebody can have a crazy orgasm and roll off the table or something.
Okay, right.
But and yeah, it's like 99% of my work these past few years have been via Skype, so non-touch at all. But to be honest, I still believe that there's some things that you can only do by touch, and I don't know if it's a limiting belief, but for me, it feels kind of like more holistic. That there is mental work, there's verbal work, so mental, verbal, there's emotional work, there's energetic work, and there's also physical work.
Hmm.
So sometimes a person needs to be, there's either as a pressure point or as a physical, like somebody has like muscles which are like knotted,
Yeah.
and yeah, you need to like work that tissue in order to release the knot.
Hmm.
And one of the things I'm literally asking myself, it's like what is the balance of that, and when is it really needed, and when it isn't needed, and like you said, you can use hypnotherapy and so on. So do you think that there are still cases and still people that really need the physical part of the work, and the not legal, the serious genital touch, the yoni massage, all of this stuff?
Well, I'm not arguing but I'm going to say three things probably about this. They just came out with well, first of all, there was a study done where people who'd never shot free throws before shot free throws. They practiced, and then after they wrote down how good they were, and then three groups were, one was only practicing it in their heads, 30 minutes a day. One wasn't practicing at all. One was practicing in real life. The real life group improved 24%. The group that was practicing in their heads improved 23%. So almost as much as real life just by imagining. They just found out you can build muscles by imagining lifting weights now. That was a new study. If you imagine lifting weights, your muscles will grow. So
Yeah.
the power of the mind, and when you're in a dream, you don't realize when you're in a dream that it's not real, right? So the power of the mind is amazing. It's I don't think we know anything about like what is possible. We're at the very beginning. We're doing like this much. So, we've had, I've seen livers healed with energy or distance. I've seen anorgasmia overcome. I've seen all sorts of things. Um, that said, yeah, if you're going to work really, really at an advanced level, well, actually, one more step back. Um, I think the reason that was so important for me to work with genital touch in Germany and Europe when I first started was to overcome the shame around that and just make it
Your,
normal.
your shame.
Yes, my personal shame as a therapist and as a recipient and then as a therapist, as a healer. I
and,
don't
and as an American.
And as an American and as a former Mormon actually. But anyway, um
Wow. The plot thickens.
yeah, yeah. I was originally mission to Germany, all that. But I don't think there's such a thing as a sexual healer or a non-sexual healer. Actually, I think there's just healers, and I think people who don't deal with sexuality are healers that are ashamed of dealing with sexuality. I don't think we should have this division. I think everybody should be a healer of everything. So yes, I agree with you, and it was necessary for me to do that.
Amen, amen to that. That's a beautiful way to say it. It's like healers that don't deal with sexuality are having guilt issues about sexuality.
I think
guilt and
so.
shame and
So I think
beautiful. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, my opinion. So I think sexual healing, we do it the way we do it, just to overcome that guilt and shame. So you're used to touching genitals, so you're used to seeing them as a normal, beautiful part of the body, and then you can do a lot of ways that may not necessarily need that. Now, are there maybe cases where people need it? Maybe. I don't know. I have not, the people I've worked with lately, I have not had almost anybody where we're like, you know what, I really need to see you in person. There's one case that I can think of, someone who had such horrific trauma that I didn't believe it when I heard it. You probably wouldn't hear it. And that person, I'm thinking, you know what, you need to probably be physically present with someone for some reasons, maybe not because of the genital touch, but there's some other things that are important because of that. I personally, I've seen anorgasmia, erectile dysfunction, premature, I've done all of these without any touch. So if that's what people want to get to, great. If you want to do like
mhm.
major, mystical, powerful stuff beyond that, yeah, maybe you have to use touch on some level. I don't know. I haven't found the
Yeah,
limit so far.
yeah. I think it's a combination. Like it's two things basically. Just to kind of clarify it more, it's like one of them is touch. So actually there's a few levels. Okay, so one of them is presence in the room.
Right.
So we're talking about Skype sessions. So I think that sometimes having a man's presence, let's say with a woman who was raped, for example, so just having a man presence in the room and he's holding the space and she's trusting him is healing by itself,
That's right.
which you wouldn't get via Skype.
That's true.
The second level is touch, and
Mm-hmm.
even if it's closed, fully clothed on both the practitioner and the client, fully clothed on, and there's touch on the body, there's another level of healing from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then being seen naked is another level of healing.
Yeah.
And being seen naked again by a man who is in the room, because you can see somebody naked over Skype, but that's different. And there are healers who are doing amazing work via Skype, and I totally believe that and applaud that. But I feel that there is a gift there, and obviously going through genital touch and what some practitioners do. I've never done that, but it's like actual sex with the client.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which I know it's a huge taboo in the States, but it does happen in other
Right.
places.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, so it has its benefits as well.
And it's not an either or, it's like whatever you want to do, you can do however you think it's effective. Great, go for that. And everybody's path, everybody's way of doing it is very useful for a big group of people. So yeah, if you do have limits, if you aren't physically present, you have to make do with what you have. And so
Hmm.
let's learn to do that well, because I think in the future that's going to happen a lot. And yeah, sometimes why not? If you've got these tools, use them.
Nice one. So talking about sexuality as something that you heal, and I think it's beautiful, kind of like the work that you do. That at least part of it. Oh, hello, Kali. Part of it is specifically with people who deal with sexuality. What is kind of like the importance that you see specifically on healing sexuality?
For me, if we heal our sexuality, if we heal our guilt, shame, and fear around sexuality, we heal everything else in the world. If you're free sexually, and probably money is number two, but if you're free sexually, you you can't be controlled anymore. You won't go if you're having amazing orgasmic bliss and pleasure and fun. You're not going to work a job you hate. You're not going to stay in a relationship that doesn't serve you. You're not going to scream at your kids. You're not going to take a gun and go kill people who did nothing to you, right? So for me, that is the core. That's the key split. The Eve Lilith, same thing in men. The shame about sexuality and being able to be sexual creatures and really going for it. If you can solve that, I think all the other problems that we have in the world will be solved. That's why I am in this field instead of fighting fracking or nuclear disarmament or whatever. This is this because I think we solve this, we'll solve everything or make a huge dent anyway.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm totally there with you, and it's like I see there's a combination of a few things, and I'm about to write an article about that, which is the kind of like the strongest energies, or the strongest, not exactly just energies, but like the controversies and the problematic, challenging things and concepts for people is sex, money, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so spirit is like, yeah, people are religious, but sometimes they have problems with other religions, or they have internal problems with themselves about the religion. Oh, I'm Jewish, but I'm not following those rules. I'm Christian, but I'm not following. I'm not a good Christian. It's like God would hate me.
Right.
Okay, I would go to hell. Okay, so the energies of sex, money, and spirit. The moment that we deal with them, it's like so many things will change in a person's life, and then in a family, and then in a community, and then in a society, and a nation, and the whole world, basically.
Absolutely.
So I see work of people like us that are doing are actually, it's like we're working with people who work with people.
Yes.
So that's the easiest getting to those affecting the life of 1 million people is by working with people who work with people.
Right.
And especially about these serious core problem, challenges, energies, which is sex, money, and spirit.
Right.
So, it's like respect for you for doing your part in that and helping people.
Namaste, brother.
I have, before we finish, I have kind of like one more topic, which is, you mentioned that you work a lot and you have a few clients and you see them every week, and there's email support and there's intercom and so on. What about work-life balance? Your work-life balance and what you do for your clients in that realm.
Well, go read the article you wrote about weekends again. I don't work hard. I am the laziest guy I've ever met. I only do what I enjoy. I retired from the IT field about 4 years ago now. I used to have a translation agency. I used to be a consultant. I sold it all. I walked away from it. And since then, I have not done anything that I don't want to do. Yeah, I've done stuff that's scary. Sometimes I've done a lot of scary stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing what I enjoy, and I focus on that. And if I feel tired, good, I rest. you know, for me, it's very simple. It's just easy. You just follow your body. I don't take any. I don't drink coffee. I don't take caffeine. I don't push myself up, and I don't push myself down. I don't take sleeping pills. I wait for the body to do what it wants to do, and I let it
Mm-hmm.
resolve itself that way. So I make sure that I have an equilibrium. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it seems to resolve itself as long as I pay attention, do my work, my meditation, my connecting to my body. Uh, I've been okay. Maybe it'll get a lot busier. Maybe I'll have to have a new level of support on that. But at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, I'm handling it well.
So you're feeling like you're working a lot, but it's not really work because you're doing what you love. What do you do apart from work? Like, what do you do apart from? I'm still calling it work because it's like something that you get paid off. So the passion, the mission, and so on. So what do you do apart from that?
I've done so many things. I've done ballroom dancing. I studied singing in college. I was a singer. I've sung all over the world with some pretty intense choirs and men's quartets and things like that. I play chess. I like walks. I do a lot of things. I play djembe. I play piano. I play organ. But I must say, at the moment, I'm very, very focused on this. I've been
Mm-hmm.
building this. I've been creating this. I've sort of dropped all the rest of it for a while. I want to get into comedy. I think that would be a fun hobby to do. So anyway, yeah, but I'm not doing a lot of it right now, and I want to get back to it. But it's been a real ramping up period. So, I'm kind of boring at the moment, but I do have a lot of stuff I want to do as soon as the foundation's laid even better.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you, and I even share some of the things that you just described, and I was like, yeah, that, yeah, did that, yeah, want to do that, yeah. And yeah, I guess that's one of the things that I'm personally excited about. So I'm also doing some kind of lifestyle coaching. So I involve the idea of lifestyle and having a really full life when you really explore everything that you love to do, and you nurture yourself, and you have hobbies, and you have friends, and you have spiritual practice. and all of this stuff, it's like contributing to a holistic life, and sometimes I call it an integrated life. So yeah, that's beautiful. How do you deal? Maybe the last question is like, how do you deal with administration? Because one of the things that I personally found, and what my clients found, the moment that they start to do more work, the moment they start to be more successful, the administration is just so much bigger. So there's financials, and there's taxes, and there's organizing workshops, and there's so much stuff around that. So how do you deal with the admin stuff?
Right. First of all, I make my admin very simple. I find a lot of people are spending a lot of time doing stuff that either doesn't need to be done, or somebody else can do easily and cheaply. I'm lucky because I was an IT consultant for 10 years. I had my own companies. I've done all this stuff. I've had people working with me. So now we're getting to the point where I am starting to hand off, and I'm actually looking for someone right now who would be interested in, I'll just do a plug, be interested in learning about what I'm doing, what we're doing here, part of this mission. So I'm looking for someone on a more dedicated basis to go and take that on and be more of the admin part. I actually went into retirement for 3 years after I sold my business. So I've only been working for about a year now, actually, really. And now it's time for me to start building up all those people. But yeah, I know from my professional time before, hand off whatever you can. When you're earning that money, when you're earning what you're worth, you can pay people to do all the stuff that needs to be done, right? And you only do the stuff that you're very, very best at and that you really want to be doing. And that's a happy world right there. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I read about, I mean, you've even had a cook. How cool is that? I want to cook.
Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing, and that was Amsterdam. So I still didn't get back to that level here. But one of the things that I found professionally is that I tried working with virtual assistants.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. It didn't work, I think, for a few reasons. But I guess that I need to get somebody really good and pay them kind of like basically somebody Western, and pay them Western prices, because I was trying to work with people in the Philippines.
No, yeah, that one.
And there was just too much. Like I'm Israeli originally. I left Israel many years ago, but still I have like my character and my persona is like so different that I need somebody who can really interact with me on this intense level.
Yeah.
So, and I heard it from other people as well. It's like finding a good virtual assistant or a good personal assistant, maybe not virtual, but actually living in your area and interacting with you is not easy.
No, I mean, I think it's like finding a partner, it's a similar search.
Exactly.
And I think you want at least one person like that who is that for you. And I do have, I have one person who is virtual who we work really well together. She helps a lot of proofreading. She does a lot of amazing work. But I do need someone locally, and yeah, that's a search that can take a while before you find that fit. And you need that one person, and they can farm things out to other places. I do a lot of stuff on Fiverr or Elance or whatever. That's fine. But I do think you need that one person by your side.
Yeah, what I got is like what you mentioned is, not doing stuff which is not crucial. It's like I basically dropped a lot of ideas that I had for projects, ideas that I had for marketing things. I dropped everything. I was like, okay, I'm writing my book and I'm getting a few clients. That's it. It's like, that's what I'm doing.
No
so
is
that's
more important than yes, right?
Yeah, saying no to things, and also no to your internal kind of like excited, person that wants to do this and wants to do this and wants to do that. And they're like, no, relax, just focus on the things which are the most important, instead of creating another whatever subset of whatever you're doing.
Right.
Nice one. So kind of like the last question is like, if there's anything that you wanna kind of like, I ask you questions and I obviously direct the conversation in a certain way. Is there anything else that you want to mention, or that you want to say that you're really excited about, that you really believe in, that you want to kind of like have the podium for a moment and just talk about that?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm really excited to have met you. And this is our first conversation ever. And for me, it feels like we're brothers who do this like every week for years at this point. Give me 5. So I'm really happy we had this conversation. And you and me are on the same wavelength right now. And I'm not sure, how deeply people resonate with all of it. I think that you and I are on the journey for some time, so we're having some thoughts that maybe are, but that's okay. Fantastic. Um, the one idea that I would give everybody now, this is what I'm saying to everybody, is get a coach. My progress, yeah, my progress. I mean, I did hundreds of days of workshops. I did all sorts of things. And when I got a coach, all of a sudden progress started like this. So find a coach somewhere. Find someone to help you. Don't do this alone. Don't try and figure it out. Don't make the mistake. Find a coach, a mentor, a teacher, someone you can talk to. I mean, I had Joseph Kramer on one of my webinars a few weeks ago, and he has got a quote. I've got a little clip of him on my website. But Joseph Kramer has done some of the things I want to do. He's created sexological body work. He's created the body electric. He's done big things. He credits all of that progress to coaching. And he's had coaches for 30 years every week, is what he said. So if that's how he did it, it's not just Michael Jordan. It's not just Mike Tyson or Pavarotti. It's also people in our area. It's Joseph Kramer. So get a coach. Find someone to support you. If you can't pay for someone, find a friend to do some accountability back and forth. Something so that you're not just stewing in your own juices with your own thoughts without seeing outside the box. And that applies to every human. I think every human should have a coach, much less every sexual healer. So.
Beautiful. I am totally there with you. It's like what you say. I'm getting like kind of like images of like, this is how carpenters would learn.
Right.
They would go and they would study with the master carpenter.
Right.
I'm hoping you're getting the historic connotation there.
Yeah.
And a samurai would have his sensei, would have his teacher, and so on. So in the past, everybody was like, yeah, they had a master that they would learn from.
Right.
The master would coach them. Nowadays, somebody goes to uni for 3 years or 5 years, or they take a coaching, course for like whatever, or they do a dakini workshop for like a few weeks or months, and then they think that they're ready. But actually, like, you need apprenticeship. You need somebody to guide you and lead you and hold your hand and say, do this, don't do that, and whatever you experience is okay. It's okay if you like shitting your pants. It's okay. It's okay if you're feeling that you're shit. It's okay.
Right.
So I'm loving it. Everybody needs a coach.
We have this bad thing about gurus in the West. We think guru is somebody who's taking over your life and making you do things. And I think we need to go back to, like you said, the idea of apprenticeship, of learning, of serving together. That's what has to happen. And those old ideas, yeah, some people did it wrong. Doesn't matter. It's still a very important principle.
Amazing, nice one. So, just to finish it off on that note, is there anything that you wanna kind of like tell the people who are watching or listening right now, and my subscribers, my mailing list people? Is there anything that you want to tell them specifically? Anything that you want to offer them? You want to offer them free session just to check you out? What do they do?
First of all, I want to tell them that you rock. That's what I want to tell them. Y'all rock, so make sure you know that. I am happy to talk to anyone at this point. If you have any questions about what I've said, if anything resonates, if you want to know more about it, especially working hands off, maybe come talk to me. I'm happy to talk to you for free at this moment. I still have time. I still have space. And I'm happy to do that, and happy to help and find a place where you might be. If you're looking for something geographically in the Bay Area, that is one thing I can offer that you can't probably at the moment. So come talk to me, and if you're looking for that, and any questions about making this a business, about being big, if you want to change the world, you're on that wavelength. I'm on that wavelength. These are the people that I'm looking for. So come and let's begin community. Let's start conversing. And I hope this isn't the last conversation we have together, you and I.
Beautiful. Is there? It's probably a question that I wanted to ask earlier, but you can choose if to answer it or not to answer. Like, let's say some people are listening and they're like, okay, I might have a free conversation with him, and that's great. but I feel like I would never be able to afford him because I think, he charges a lot. So do you ever reveal your rates, or do
Yeah.
you ever discuss them? Do you publish them?
To work
Okay,
with
so
me
what's
at the moment, $2,000 a month,
mm-hmm,
1 year minimum commitment. And I'll tell you what,
mm-hmm,
every single person who's wanted to work with me and gotten the free session, they've walked out of the free session and made more than that amount of money in about a week. I had one person make $2,000, their first $2,000 client. 3 days later, another one had 3 or 4 clients and made $2,000. Like, they get so much value from that one. If you really want to do it, we've solved that problem, and that's trivial. That's no big deal because you don't know your value yet. I'll show you your value. You'll go do it. If it, like you said, if you need a lot of that workup time, okay. But if you're willing to do what I tell you to immediately, you're going to make enough to pay for the coaching with a free time together. That's my experience.
beautiful. So basically, it's the same kind of like approach that I have. It's like you give them the free session, and then you help them to be able to afford you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a partnership. It's a
Yeah,
partnership. I want to make the money to be able to focus on them. They want to be able to get that focus from me. So let's figure out how to make it happen. And it's very easily doable if we're a fit. And
nice
if
one.
not, I know where to send people here and to you and other people abroad. There's all sorts of people that and money is just like one part of it. There's personality, there's energy, there's all sorts of things that should fit. And you need to find the people that work with you. And if you fit with me, we'll find a way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Nice one. So your website is
There's one right now that came from, it's sparkmk.com. M is in mother, so sparkmk.com is where I have a lot of this stuff. I've got another site, Dakini Path, which is going to be renovated soon.
okay.
RyanOrrock.com has a bunch of articles. I've got too many websites. That's another thing but the main one right now is sparkmk.com. That's the best one for this type of work.
Thank you for that. That's an interesting synchronicity because the service that I've been hatching or whatever, working on for a few months now and offering to people and about actually to announce is called the Spark Session. So there's so much synchronicity here. I'm like wow, that's totally Spark.
brothers.
What's MK? What's MK?
It
What
was
does MK
actually,
stand
it was Spark Marketing. When I first started, I was marketing Tantra, marketing all this stuff. So it was a marketing company, and now it's more coaching, but I still have the domain. So Spark MK.
Nice one. Nice one. Okay, so Ryan, thank you so much for being available for this. I think we've been going on for an hour and a half, and that's beautiful. And I totally see see us talking again and going kind of like drilling deeper into some of the issues, and it's beautiful really to see somebody who's so much on the same kind of like wavelength and resonance as I am. I'm like, it's like I want to just reach out across Skype and just give you a hug.
Yeah, same feeling. I felt I was alone in some ways before I found you, so thank you.
Nice one. So thank you again, and for those who are listening, thank you for listening for the Intimate Power interviews with integrated people. Nice one. Thank you, mate. All the best.
You too. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.